Welcome into Weather Center Live. I'm meteorologist Julie Martin. I'll be with you for the next hour as we talk about some of the big weather stories across the country, including the chance for more rain coming into places like Texas over the weekend. Feel it anyway, that's for sure. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Julie Martin taking a look at Boston. Your coldest high so far this winter, 20 degrees on January 9th. So we haven't seen that 20-degree high since then or anything below that. But by the time we hit Saturday, we're looking at 17 for your high. And some of these wind chills could feel like the single digits or below. Back in the 30s by the time we hit Sunday. But again, your average high is 42 degrees. So it's going to be feeling a lot like winter out there for you. And those winds are going to be factoring into all of that for sure. This is a look at the current wind chills right now. For you in Boston, it feels like 17, 25 in New York, single digits in Bangor, Maine, over to Burlington, even in Buffalo, 13, where we're getting a little lake effect snow. So yeah, a little return of winter here in the Northeast as we move through the weekend. And those wind chills are definitely going to be a factor as you walk out the door over the weekend as well. Look at this. We're talking negative territory for you in Boston as we get into Saturday. Boy, very bitterly cold in places like northern Maine and northern Vermont as well, even into the teens as we get into New York City. That's what it will feel like if you're out maybe walking around the park or taking a little stroll. So it's going to be time to bundle up. We've got this large dip in the jet stream. We've got plenty of cold air in place moving on through. But the good news with this, it's kind of a quick hitter. We're going to see our temperatures vary up and down in this part of the country over the next couple of days. We'll see that jet stream lift up to the north. More warm air actually starts to move in by the time we get into the early part of next week. Look at that. The warm air returning here to the northeast. We've got the cold air returning in the Midwest. So it is definitely a flip-flop for a little while. We want to talk a little bit now about something kind of cool Chris Warren got to do. He met up with an Olympic gold medalist, Seth Westcott, at Sugarloaf Resort to get some tips from him. If you're into snowboarding, you're going to want to listen. So certainly the storminess there, we're not looking at a big setup for severe weather this week, but we will get to that. One of the things we are talking about in the Southeast, though, certainly the temperatures. This is a look at the rankings here for February. And when you take a look at places like Atlanta, this is the #1 in terms of the warmest February, 55.9. That was the average temperature. In Greenville, #2, 53.7. Same for you in Charleston at 59. Raleigh, your #1 warmest February at almost 53 degrees as well. So it's been an unusually warm winter here in the Southeast. And right now we're looking at temperatures that are just a little bit below average, actually. Atlanta, 51 degrees for you, 43 here in Nashville, but still very warm in Florida with the 60s and 70s. And as we move throughout the day today, temperatures are going to be kind of up and down. It's going to be a little hit or miss even as we move through the next week or so. Today's high is still just slightly below average, places like Raleigh and Atlanta, 57, so high 50s, not too bad out there. But we have some very cold temperatures moving in the overnight hours. So certainly looking at freeze watches here in places like South Georgia, all the way over to Atlanta, up through the Carolinas even. So yeah, if you already got the spring fever and you've put some plants out, you're going to want to cover those up tonight. Tomorrow morning, take a look at this. Temperatures just a little bit below freezing for many of you, or right at freezing. That goes through Sunday as well. We'll see that cold air in place over the weekend. As we look at Monday morning, temperatures rebound pretty nicely. We're getting that return of warm air back in the 50s for your lows on Monday and Tuesday for most of us, all the way from Nashville down in through Charleston, and even on Wednesday morning looking at almost 60 degrees as you wake up there in Charleston, South Carolina. So we're looking at again, the temperature is a little cooler and then a little warmer as well. Tomorrow your forecast high 60. That is average for you in Atlanta, but we're going to be going up from there. All right, could be a very long and rough season thanks to all of these nice warm temperatures in terms of allergy sufferers, pollen, of course. Our team with the Brainstorm explains the science behind pollen and what we will be dealing with across the country. And really right now, a lot of the action is in the west, the Pacific Northwest, getting another round of storms. So rain and snow here in the higher elevations from Washington and Oregon all the way down in the San Francisco Bay Area. Also some more storms firing up, and certainly just some rain in Texas over the weekend. Mostly quiet weather across the country, much colder in Boston and New York and the Northeast over the weekend. We're going to see see temperatures about 10 to 20 degrees colder than they have been. And the cold really hanging on for Sunday, but a little better for you in New York and Boston in the 30s and 40s. That rain still staying here in Texas and stretching over into the Gulf Coast, perhaps by the time we hit Sunday. This system starts to spread out, bringing more snow and certainly to the higher elevations, more rain along the coast. It's going to linger on into Monday as well. By Monday, though, we're going to see some more storminess, some unsettled weather stretching across the Midwest and into the South as well. So wet for you in Chicago, but look at those temperatures rebounding on Tuesday and then back in the 50s, 40s and 50s in the Midwest by the time we hit Wednesday. So the temperatures are going to be all over the place throughout the week. Just get used to that. Back in the 50s and near 60 degrees by Tuesday in the Northeast. Very warm here in the Southeast as well. 68 in Atlanta, 73 in Dallas. We will see mostly quiet weather pattern by the time we hit midweek. Just a few lingering showers here in the Southeast. Temperatures really holding in the 50s across about the half of the country east of the Mississippi River. And then back here in the West, we have a little more rain and unsettled weather, maybe a little more snow in the higher elevations as we get into the Pacific Northwest and California. Once again, we'll be right. I could see someone at Starbucks ordering that.
Why not? But we have to talk about the winter weather and actually the lack of it for the last couple of months, especially in the upper Midwest, because there's some remarkable numbers that have come out of places like Chicago, where the snowfall this season, they've had 18 inches. That's a lot less than they typically get. And they've actually had no snow in January and February. None. Zero in Chicago.
Really incredible. You know, people in these parts, a lot of people love to be outdoors. They love to go snowmobiling and ice fishing and that kind of thing. They really haven't had any winter in Chicago.
And you would have thought, looking at the storm tracks this winter, that, well, there's a lot of them right over here, and you'd think in a typical winter they'd get some snow out of them.
It looks very active.
Doesn't it? That's a busy map. Why
there was one problem, right?
There was at least one problem, but the glaring one, Julie, you're so right, is the amazing warmth that was in place for really the balance of the winter.
Yeah, really crazy.
These are ranks in the warmest all-time on record categories. So Green Bay, Fort Wayne, Cleveland, you know Chicago's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
They had very, very warm winters overall. So very active storm-wise, but too much rain and not enough snow.
So it ended up being rainstorms instead of snowstorms.
I remember so many times looking at these maps and thinking it's nighttime and it's Milwaukee, and what the heck are they doing raining?
I know, I know.
That was a common theme.
Really crazy. Well, speaking of snow, we have a little bit here along the Great Lakes. Little lake effect going on this morning.
No, you're exactly right. There's a lot of there's some lake effect, lake enhanced, but also sort of weather system snow, Julie, that's moving through. And I think as we go through the late morning and early afternoon, we're going to see a lot more of it pop up. It's going to be like summertime instability, like we get with the showers that pop up in the summertime and thunderstorms. This is going to be like pop-up snow squalls.
Seems like there could be a little lull, and then we'll get things going again maybe later on today.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
And accordingly, the Weather Service has put out some lake effect snow warnings here for northeastern Ohio and parts of nearby, well, not quite getting into Pennsylvania, but the reason why is for that fact that these snow squalls could be really intense, Julie.
Yeah, and already we've seen anywhere from, say, 3 to 5 inches in some local spots around Cleveland, I believe. So, you know, again, this is a place that really hasn't had much of a winter either. So if you're not used to it anymore, then,
that's
it's pretty dangerous out there traveling.
That band of snow a couple of hours ago was over Cleveland, and they actually got one of their observations, weather airport observations, was 1/16 of a mile visibility in heavy thunder snow.
Thunder snow.
There's that kind of weather now over the Ohio Valley, and that's going to be in place today with a lot of cold air aloft surrounding a little bit of a dip in the jet stream. So when it's really cold aloft and maybe not quite so cold near the ground, you can get a lot of overturning, and we're seeing that right now.
Yeah, even as we get up near Buffalo, we could see a little bit of snow as well. And I think that, again, that's not going to be anything they're not used to, but certainly a novelty a little bit, as we haven't had a whole lot this year.
We haven't. And looking at this, say 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, there's a lot of sort of popcorn-looking flavor to this forecast, suggesting that there's a lot of snow squall activity, could be intense. 1 minute you're in clear sky, the next minute you got a snow squall.
All right, we got Mark and Alex up next.